Welcome to Innovators at the Intersection. I'm Jordan Weiss, and I'm thrilled to share stories of visionaries and creatives at the crossroads of culture and STEAM. Our monthly podcast and bi-monthly publication highlight change makers that are shaping a better tomorrow. Aisha, we're so happy to have you with us today. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to go right into it and take us back to a young Aisha growing up and how you also saw your future. But take us back there.
What future? Listen, I'm still surprised that I ended up becoming a positive contributing member of society. I would refer to that time in my life as like doing hood rat things with my friends, skipping class. I was not really all that interested in being there.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that is like society asks you what it is that you want to be before you know who you are. And you're also forced to learn all of these things that you really don't care about. Like, how much do you today care about Pangea or Mesopotamia or pretty much most of the stuff that was
Okay.
there? So, like, for me, I just had a really hard time understanding why I had to learn all these things and be tested on them, but they didn't actually translate to my real life.
Yeah, I get that. It's a lot of these things were taught in school. You're saying it's not totally applicable to like our life and how we live day to day and where we're
I mean,
going to
come
be.
on, how much of your high school education do you feel like you use?
Like every single bit of it. No, I'm kidding. Not math. You know what? Math.
Okay.
Math.
All right.
And I was really not good at math.
You were there for 4 years. What else?
We're talking about high school or college?
We're just going to start there.
Spanish.
Okay.
Spanish. Okay. You're turning it on me. You're flipping it on
Well,
me.
I mean, I should have taken Spanish. I took French.
Okay.
Not as useful, I would say, in my travels
Right.
as Spanish would have been. So I took the L there. I really should have learned Spanish.
Okay.
But let's talk about college. I maybe used 20% of my undergrad, and a lot of it is common sense. Maybe 40% of my master's because it was applied, and so a lot of the things that I studied were directly applicable. But to get back to the core of your question, I really was in a challenging situation because my home life wasn't super great. I mean, it's amazing.
And where'd you grow up again?
So I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was born, my father was driving a cab and my mom was cleaning houses. My dad immigrated to the United States from the Bahamas in search of higher education. My mom came from the Bronx in New York.
Oh.
And then a wonderful thing happened.
From the Bronx.
Yes.
Boogie Down Bronx.
Absolutely.
It's the Bronx, though.
138th Street.
Okay.
She grew up in a project.
Shout out to the Bronx.
And my mom was like, they were like 22. Can you imagine being 22 and 23 and having kids?
No. I mean, but that's my parents too, though.
But
like
it's wild that we expected so much from them. Like in hindsight, I
kids.
remember what I was like when I was 22, and I wasn't that sophisticated.
I mean, I was not capable, and I probably wasn't capable even at the age. But at that age, you're still, you're growing. You're still a kid.
Right, but like, okay, you asked me about growing up, and I'm like,
Right.
I think it's really important, especially being adults,
Right.
to think of your parents not as like these deities or these godlike beings, but that are people that had you and were really doing their best.
Absolutely.
But at
Totally
the
agree.
time, I didn't really get it. I'm like, you're adults, right? Like, you're supposed to be doing this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, they're like 23, 24, and 25.
Right.
Like, they're really just figuring their things out.
Exactly.
And because they were trying to find themselves, I actually got lost in myself.
That's hard. That must have been tough.
It was. I ended up with a 2.313, and I'm proud of it. I don't care about it because it actually didn't hold me back in life. And so what happened was,
That was in high school?
that was in high school.
Right.
I-
So C, it's like a C. Well, I'm old school.
Yeah, we don't have to go there. We don't have to try to figure it out. We don't have to define it.
All right, we'll leave it.
We don't have to define it. We're gonna just
But it's a 2.3.
1.3.
There you go.
The 1.3 part is just disrespectful. Like if it's 2.3, you don't need 1.3. But the reason why I like to share this is there were a lot of people over the course of my life that were like, oh, well, you shouldn't tell anybody that about yourself. And I'm like, well, how can people be inspired by it if they don't know about it? Right? Like, why am I going to allow where I started to shame me? Because I could not choose where I was born. And I definitely did not choose who I was born to.
Right.
But what I was able to choose was how I personally responded to it.
Mhm.
And I went into my high school guidance counselor's office. I'm sure she regrets this. And she suggested that I study a trade. And she kind of was like, well, of the trades, because I don't think you're going to be a welder or mechanic, I think you should look at cosmetology or becoming a beautician. Now, full stop. I love hair. I love makeup. I'm into cosmetology and beauty. But the problem was that was all that she thought I could be. There was no, maybe you could go to college, maybe you could graduate, maybe you'll go do this, that, the other. It was just, here's my recommendation. Have a nice day. And I felt so deeply angry
Right.
because why are we judging people before the age of 18? Why do we tell kids that if you haven't been good, like you're not going to be great? And I remember going home and talking to my dad about it, and he was also angry. I think in that moment, he looked at it as a judgment about him
Oh, yeah.
and how good.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree kind of a thing?
Well, but here's the thing. My father went back and got a electrical engineering undergrad
Right.
at 40.
Okay.
He then went on and got a master's, and he applied to get a PhD. When we had this conversation, he wasn't yet 40,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he felt like, well, wait a second. You are more talented and more capable than this person would lead you to believe.
Mm-hmm.
So he went up there. He had some choice words, like he wasn't invited back. Like, spoiler alert, he did not get invited back. And the two of us,
I don't even want to know what went down with that.
I mean, it was kind of like in the vein of nuck if you buck, right? Like he was not having it. And the two of us ended up sitting there,
Right.
and he looked at me and he was like, you can do and be whatever it is that you want to be.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? He's right. And you carve your own path. It's not letting yourself be kind of pigeonholed and people put you in a box and say you could only be this. And I mean, who are they to say?
Well, right.
You
But
know?
at that phase in my life, I heard it, but I
Right.
didn't believe it because I did not have any proof. And so I'm a big fan of courage before proof.
Mm.
And for me, the courage was, okay, you're telling me that I can't do this. I'm going to go to community college and I'm going to try to sort it out. And community college was a saving grace for me because I was around learners and people who, some of whom had children early, some of whom had, toxic family situations. And they were like, look, their life was put on hold because of other people's drama and things. And they told me straight up, do not listen to what anyone has to tell you
Mhm.
if it's negative.
Absolutely. I mean, because you'd start to take that energy in, and then, it starts to become part of, you when you engage with people. But you have to have a strong sense of self-awareness to be able to shield yourself from that. And a lot of people don't, and it's hard. Right?
Sort of. I mean, at 18 and 19 and 20, like it can be kind of hard to be self-aware, right?
Yeah, it's not easy. I'm just saying.
No.
But it sounds like you were
Well,
at a young age.
I was, I think feisty, right?
Mhm.
I feel like I've always a little bit more like on the hot-blooded side of the spectrum.
Mhm.
And so what I had was, no, right? I was very good at, I don't like what you're saying. No, I'm going to prove you wrong, right?
Yeah.
Carrying the chip to an extent. And so I
Right.
really kind of understood, hey, if I refuse to agree with you, and if I chart my own path, I can really do amazing things.
Mhm.
And so I went from being someone who was told that college wasn't for people like me to being a community college student that felt emboldened to going to University of Michigan, getting an undergraduate degree in aerospace engineering, and then a master's in space systems engineering with a concentration on nanosatellites, that's satellites the size of a shoebox, and then working for NASA. And so she was wrong.
Yeah, what you did is you turned it upside down. You used it as fuel.
I did.
And that's the best way to take any kind of negativity or any challenge, and you turn it into something that's powerful. And you might want to say thanks to it too, right? Sometimes, or no?
Well, it's not so much thank you, it's more of like a professional shade. Like,
Right.
I make sure that if there's a news article or an interview or whatnot,
Right.
whatever, that the high school knows. They actually have cardboard cutouts of me in the
Oh,
middle school, the high school, and the community college. I'm greeting them kids when they come to school in the morning.
right.
And it's a constant living reminder to not put like boundaries or borders or barriers on other people's success. And like from a data perspective, because like I'm an engineer, I'm a math person, I like numbers, it has been said that we have about 6,000 thoughts a day. And
Yes.
of those 6,000 thoughts, 80% of those thoughts are like negative. And most of them are subconscious, right? They're just automatic negative thoughts that people have every day. And so if your mindset is by default doubtful,
Right.
then default your whole framework of life is I can't do this or I can't do that. And so really for me this is about kind of poking people and being like, "Hey, like you need to be aware of how you're thinking. You need to be aware more importantly of how other people are thinking about you and just decide to toss it all out."
Mm. Well, you've done obviously a lot with it, and it goes right into our next question. Uh, when did it click that the STEM field was going to be your calling? When did you know, like, this is really what I want to do? Because it sounds like it sounds like you knew kind of early.
Well, what I knew was I know what it's like to be tired, I know what it's like to be poor, and I know what it's like to be hungry,
Mm.
and I really wasn't interested in signing up for a lifetime of that.
Right. Right.
So
Okay.
for me, the math and the science was like, well, wait a second. You mean to tell me that if I do this, I might be able to get a six-figure job because other people think it's hard? Sign me up. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, even aerospace for me wasn't like this dramatic, oh, I'm going to be an aerospace engineer because I thought I could. I did it because I thought I couldn't. And I also did it because if I was able to introduce myself as a rocket scientist in the future, it would actually mean that everything that I knew about life was wrong.
Right.
And so it was sort of like my, big, hairy, audacious goal, right? You'll see all these things like, if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. And it's like, yeah, right, that's bet. Very true. You have to do the things that make you feel almost borderline unhinged because it redefines how you look at accomplishment in life and like what you're capable of.
Do you feel that you ended up going into something that you were genuinely passionate about?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, that's
I
really
I I
I was gonna
absolutely
say because you are not gonna be able to excel at something if you I mean, you have to
Well,
have
listen,
some
there
skin in
there
the
there are
game.
plenty of people who are good at things that they
Yeah,
don't like.
right.
I think that the gap between industry and academia is
Mhm,
very real.
right.
And so for any degree, without an internship or without a co-op, it's very difficult to understand what real life is going to be like for you in that career or that field. And so my first day, my first week, my first months at NASA, once I graduated, really felt like I was being introduced to the wild. I was like, "Oh, this is what I studied? Oh, I really like this."
Mm,
There are astronauts on the tarmac. We have all of these really cool things like the world's largest wind tunnel and cool people are rolling through.
wow.
I mean, honestly, I was relieved. I like cried at the end of the first day because I was like, "Oh, this degree, I actually like it."
That's
But
great.
there are people who don't have that experience because of what I said. Like, we do a really bad job of taking high schoolers, especially those who are not from affluent communities,
Mhm.
and putting them in real life situations where they can shadow you, they can go to work with you, and they can actually see, like, hey, if I decide to devote 4 years of my life to this, this is what it's going to be like.
Yeah, yeah, you need to be exposed to it, and it's tough because that doesn't happen a lot. It does not happen a lot. Well, sounds like some of these it sounds like this question was kind of answered already, but maybe you'll find another answer to it. Are there any key moments or and challenges that push you towards leadership? Well, I guess it's a little bit different, towards leadership, possibly in unexpected ways.
There are many, and it's a good question because we talked a bit about the journey, but there were people along the way who lit the path who did not share my background, who did not share my experience. A lot of them probably were perfect their entire life, but they leveraged their personal privilege or their power to make sure that I had a shot. And that is so important to me. My graduate professor, I transferred into the University of Michigan. When you transfer in, you may have all A's, but they don't accept the GPA. They just take your credits.
Mhm.
And so I was faced with the last 2 years of my undergrad, which is mostly difficult classes that are like borderline witchcraft, right? It's like flame dynamics and thermo and, mechanics and all these things. I mean, really, really hard things, right? Most
Yeah.
people consider them to be hard. They're actually hard. And my professor was looking at this and he was like, okay, you did good, but it's not like you got a straight A in all of these courses. And I understand that because most of the students, they'll take the first 2 years, they'll pad the GPA. And, the last 2 years, they're studying the hard things and it kind of balances out,
Right.
right? It's still good, but it balances out. And he looks at me and he goes, this paper isn't who you're going to be. And I remember in that moment realizing that people have power.
Hmm.
They may choose not to exercise it on a daily basis, but in that moment, he had the power to decide whether or not I was going to be a master's student from Michigan. Today, I'm the only female grad of an engineering program that has been to space in like the almost 100-year history
That's
of
amazing.
Michigan engineering. And I flew a Michigan flag when I went on that journey. And it's all because this man made a decision. And there have been times in my life when there have been other people.
Opportunity. Open the door for you
Yes.
to be able to pursue something. And I mean, it's not everybody has those
And,
opportunities.
and that's what I really am trying to advocate for,
A lot of people
right?
don't have those
And
opportunities,
and
right?
so what's so interesting to me is not only the opportunity, but there's some people say, "Oh, well, that's DEI." I'm like, I have never passed a class because I was Black. I have never passed a
Well,
class because I was a woman. Heck, where does that happen? Sign me up.
yeah, it's even getting into that whole. It's just
It is a opportunity
exactly.
to excel.
Yes.
We have graduated hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of engineers from programs all over the country.
Mm.
But in the history of human spaceflight, we've only sent about 700 people up in space. So when you look at all of the numbers and the statistics, you don't get this far in life without actually being competent and capable. But what is uneven is the opportunity. I love the saying that genius is distributed evenly, opportunity, however, is not.
That's it's true. I mean, you could be a genius, but you might not have that opportunity to bring that genius into the world, right?
And it happens all the time. When I'm in the inner cities, I always say the same brilliance and intellect it takes for you to run something in the street is applied every day in a boardroom.
Of
It's just
course.
different mediums.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's these are transferable kind of, I don't know if it's skills, but just like a mentality, right? Like things are applicable. I mean, you serve in the military, you look at things in a certain way, and you could apply those when you get back. The battlefield to the boardroom, right, is what they say, and that's so. So you're talking a little bit on, throughout this conversation about rocket scientists. We're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of you being part of the crew that went into space with Blue Origin. 1 year anniversary. Would love to hear about that experience. What did you learn from it? What do you want to share? I'm sure a lot of people want to hear about it.
There were 900 days between when I had the opportunity to go and when I signed my contract and when I flew. And what's really interesting to me is I feel like in many ways the story is going to be left for the history books. I'm someone who walked the halls at NASA, who had the opportunity to work with and support astronauts, many of whom are giants, right? They're like the legends on the shoulders of which I stand. And in every opportunity, they had to negotiate with NASA Public Affairs or even with other entities when it came to how it was that their story was going to be represented because they're government employees. And I remember kind of coming out of this experience working for NASA and being in the government and saying, I really would like the opportunity to go to space, but I'm not sure that this environment is for me, right? I'm not sure that I want to be within this agency for 10 or 15 or 20 years before that opportunity is presented. And so I want to go outside so that I can learn more, which for
Right.
me was private industry. It was working on education projects. It was getting to travel the world, right? I was 24, 25 when I made the choice, like, hey, I'm going to eventually go out and I'm going to really get an opportunity to have a wide variety of experiences that one day I hope lead me to space. And I had a mentor
Mhm.
um, that said to me, you are bigger than this job. And that experience led me to say, sometimes you don't choose space, space chooses you.
Hmm.
And so the idea was, let me go and see if I can become the first Black woman to raise the money, to own the seat, to tell the story of going to space. And could I, as a private citizen, do world-class research with international partners and an HBCU? And can I publish and can I shift the paradigm of space? Instead of waiting to be chosen, be qualified and show up.
Right.
And that's how all these things came together. I trained at the only facility that has graduated over 400 astronauts that have been to space. I've done the skydives, I've done the centrifuges, I've done pretty much everything that my mom was like, please tell me about it afterwards, right?
The physical, that must have taken like the physical exertion, and you had to be in shape to be able to, right? I mean, to do.
I do work out.
I know, but I'm saying I
I feel like that was
that's
like,
great.
but do you lift, bro? Like, yes.
No, no, bro. I don't know if you lift, and that's cool if you don't. What I was gonna say was, it's just like it seems pretty intense.
Yeah, yes, because you are going to find yourself on top of controlled chaos and you're going to be traveling at 2,200 miles an hour within 30 seconds,
They're in outer
and you may
space
fall over 200,000 feet. I would like to think that you prepared yourself for that moment.
for being an. I mean, and how many people? I mean, if you had to do any like a problem, how many people have the chance to go into outer space? This is a total side question. Do you think that there's going to be more opportunity for people to go into outer space, more of the,
Yeah.
or is I don't even want to
Yes.
open, but
This
I'm
this
opening it
is
up because
this is like the best question. We plan to be living on the moon, or at least have a moon habitat, a moon base, by 2028. We just for the first time in over
that's
50 years returned successfully 4 people after they were slung around the moon. We literally ripped around Earth a couple times. We shot them out there. They came back. They're basically like a plasma ball wrapped in lava. They're traveling at 25,000 feet.
right.
They got to hit a 2-degree entry corridor, 14 minutes. We got a communications blackout. It's incredible. It's basically a sci-fi movie. And we did all of that with a picture-perfect splashdown at 20 miles per hour in San Diego.
Wow.
This is an incredible time to be in space and to be in science. And it's not just the STEM fields.
Right.
It's all the fields. I always joke that the most important person I dealt with when I was at NASA was the person in charge of the budget, especially at the end of the year. We need everybody. We need lawyers. Who owns that up there? How are we
Right.
doing that, right? We need
Right.
accountants. We need therapists. We need psychologists. We need everybody for humanity's greatest mission, which is going to be moon, Mars, and beyond.
Yeah. Well, STEM, it incorporates a lot of that
I
finance,
honestly,
but I think it's the way it's packaged.
it is. And
The
I think we
word
need to,
STEM, like I think it needs like try to open it up a little bit more because it does incorporate so many different things. If we're talking about mathematics, that's finance. I mean, I'm just saying, but it's not packaged like that,
listen,
right?
I agree with you, but hot take, I really think that we just need to eventually sunset the word because all fields are STEM
Right,
fields.
right.
I don't care if it's graphic design
Right.
or accounting or
It's everything.
whatever.
It's basically everything.
Everything. We've
Right.
integrated GPT or
Right.
technology into
Right.
literally every market vertical.
Right.
And so I'm asking my mom, like, okay, have you talked to Claude? She's like, who is that? I'm like, okay, we're going to work on this, right? Everybody is learning now how to use technology. And so every field's a STEM field.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just, I'm thinking about who coined it. Do you know who coined the phrase, the STEM or the acronym? Because I have no idea.
So
I'm curious to know who
I don't,
who takes the cake with,
I
because
don't
I
want to
don't know.
speculate, but I did have a conversation and there was a person do you remember World News and Reports?
Yes.
And this particular person at World News and Report, shout out to you if you can hear me,
Shout out to
had
World
indicated that
Sports
they
people.
were the entity that had coined the phrase.
Oh,
Because if you remember, there used to be a battle between whether or not we were going to be stem cells or stem fields.
right.
There's a fight where like who's going to really own
Or
it.
there was a good chunk of time where people like were confused. Like
Yes.
stem what? Which stem?
Exactly. Which stem? Which
Is
stem?
it stem?
Yes.
Yeah, stem field.
Exactly. But ultimately, we're talking about our employable skills.
Yes.
And these employable skills translate to pretty much every market vertical. So let's just make them skills.
Agreed. I do agree, and it is interesting when you think about it. But I guess that could be a whole other
That's
conversation.
another podcast.
That is, it's part 2. Stay tuned for part 2. It's coming. I don't know when, but we're gonna have that part 2. All right, I really want to hear about this. This is really important. You're an entrepreneur, and a company that you're really building out and that you're really invested in is Lingo. We would love to hear about the company, the mission, how you're building it, and also what the main problems you're focused on solving with this company, and tell us all about it.
When I was in undergrad as a transfer student, I had an electrical circuits class. And it was the first time that I'd ever really worked with my hands. And I was terrified. I was terrified because all these other kids apparently got introduced to these topics in high school. And because, high school went the way that I said that it went earlier,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that kind of exposure.
Right.
And it was in that moment that I made a decision that if I was going to fail, it would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I managed to get through this course, but I always sort of remembered that sting. As an adult, I said, I want to make something that allows kids to build at home, to gain confidence that they could do in a classroom setting or they could not, and that would allow for them to be exposed to real world problems and things. And that's what became Lingo. After I started my engineering company about 13 years ago, me and the team, we said, we think that we really understand what it is that employers are going to look for in the future. So why don't we put that in a box, and why don't we support our nonprofit partners? And all of that led to the Lingo Kits becoming STEM content tools for Inroads. And over 3 years, we were working with Inroads when the pandemic hit, and they were doing workshops in multiple states with hundreds of students using our boxes. And I said, you know what? This is for all and not for some.
Mm-hmm.
And so today we have over 7,500 learners on the platform, and we have space and science kits that literally mimic some of the very same concepts that were used in the Artemis landing. We have a rocket launch countdown timer. You can build that in your high school.
I love
You could build that in your middle school.
Yeah.
We have an Earth observation satellite, and it's a prototype. And so you can take measurements using the sensors that you put together.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything around us, whether it's a camera, this microphone, or computer, it's hardware and it's gathering data. And I want people to be able to do that before they have to choose a major.
This is the cliche question, but I'll ask it. As we're talking about Lingo, where would you like to see it, I don't know, 3-5 years from now?
I would like to be a leading STEM tool provider
Mhm.
for districts around the country. For me, this was a passion project. I want to create something that I needed when I was younger. And I want to stay on the side of developing interesting and engaging lessons and allow the educators to do what they do best, which is inspire and to lead. And I think together that's a perfect partnership because as somebody that is so close to all these fields, I just want to bring the excitement of going to space and traveling around the world down to earth.
Well, a lot of people are benefiting from all the positive work you're doing, and not going to say you just started, but you're early on in the journey. You have a way to go, and you're going to impact a lot of people. So, really excited to see where everything goes. But it was so great to have you on the show. I do want to give a special shout out for somebody that kind of linked us back up together. I think it's important because you were talking about Inroads.
Yes, Mr. Forrest Harper.
Forrest Harper. Shout out. Forrest is the best.
Listen, Forrest is amazing. And since we're on that note.
Shout out, Forrest.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
When I was working at NASA,
Mm-hmm.
Forrest came to NASA Ames Research Center, which is in Silicon Valley, California, and I was tasked with providing him and a group with a tour. Gave him a tour, and I'm like, who is this guy? He's so inspiring, and he's so smart.
Yeah, he's a great he's like the
Oh,
best speak. His speak, he's
he's
Forrest
just great, right?
yeah,
Like, just top notch.
he is.
And at the end of this tour, I looked at him and I said, one day I'm going to start my own company and I'm going to work on education and equity. And he said, okay, well, when you decide to do that, here's my card.
And
I had Forrest's card on my desks for 2 years, right? So, I'm an engineer, so I had 2 desks and I got 2 screens.
right.
And Forrest's card was like right here. And every day I would go to work and I would look at that card and I was like, one day, one day, one day.
It was like a vision kind of board, but it was a card, but it was like everything was in that card, right?
Everything. And so I left, and he was the first person that I called when I left. And I started the business, and we were too young and we're too small and whatever,
Right.
whatnot. But to then years later translate that to being able to work with him and to be able to have the product that literally created the logos and the colors and the lessons become something that Inroads used was truly an honor, privilege, and a dream fulfilled.
Well, I mean, I know he's so proud of you, you know? So, well, anyway, look, this was an amazing, amazing conversation. Learned so much, and you have such an inspiring story, your whole story. And then what you're doing is so important. So again, so happy to have you on the show. We appreciate you joining us, and thank you.
Thank you.